Hi, Ted. Oops.
Evening, folks. How we doing?
I think Monique might be a little late and but the other two people should be here shortly.
Okay.
Oh, wait, we gotta wait. Whoops. Oh, you know what? I hear feedback. Do you?
No, I don't hear any.
Okay, maybe it's just me.
If our crazy dog starts to bark, I will need to mute my mic. But right now, she's being quiet for probably the first time all day.
Let's see if somebody's having trouble. Oh my God. Ron can't find the link. Can I send it to your email? Are you looking at your email? I'll send it to your email. It's the same link. It's been the same link.
It's on the town website on the plan.
I told him that. It's on the town website. I'm going to send you the link on your email. Too much for me to send it to your text message.
Yet one more good reason to start meeting again in person.
Well, that's a problem for many people.
I suppose you could also say, well, I don't know where the BA building is.
Or I'm not able to get there. Let's see. Can I find it? Okay. It'll just be a minute for me. Okay. So we still have to wait.
Yeah, we don't have a quorum yet.
We'll see what Dan sent me a message, but he said he was very busy today. So So I thought, here's Dan. Good. Okay.
Still no Ron?
No Ron, but I expect him shortly. So Dan's here. Oh, here's Ron. Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting here.
Okay. All right. So we'll open the meeting 7:06. And this is a remote access meeting only via Zoom. And as chair of the planning commission, I am having this meeting on Zoom due to the COVID emergency. This public body is authorized to meet electronically. And there is currently no physical location for this meeting.
Hey, Mark.
Yes?
Oh, you can hear me. Good. I just want to make sure you can hear me. Okay, I'm good.
Public notice has been given of instructions for accessing this. It's on the town website under Planning Commission on the main page for Planning Commission. And it's in all notices related to any meetings for the Planning Commission. If you're unable to access the meeting, you can text me or if you run into difficulty at 802-291-0525. And if any votes are not unanimous, we take a roll call because it's hard, especially tonight, because 2 members aren't even visible. There's Dan. So I'm going to try to share my screen. It's always a challenge for me. And I'm not sure if this is the one. I'm not sure if I wanted another one, but I'll pull this one up. That's not the one. Oh, here it is. Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yep, see the agenda.
Okay, and it's too small to read. And I'm going to try and move it down so I can see it.
Whatever it's worth, I'm trying to figure out why my video is not showing me on here, but I can see you guys.
Well, that's all that's important, right? So come on, Marcy. Make it
We'd
bigger.
love to see your smiling face, Ron.
You're very kind, Ted. You look good. Have you lost weight?
Oh, I put on the COVID-19, I'm sorry to say.
Well, I just made a big mess.
Marcy, you look good too. You got your hair down, no hat. You look younger, more professional. Well done. Everybody looks better. This is great.
Well,
And Dan looks fantastic in blue. This is beautiful.
so now I have this other screen. Oh, here, I can get rid of it down this way. I can't seem to, here, I know. Okay. So let's see if I move it down. Okay. All right. So you still can't see it.
Hey, there I am. There you go.
I don't know if you can
Figured-
see it or not. I can read it on my computer, but barely. View. See if we get it bigger. There, it's bigger. Okay. All right, so this is the agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda that anyone would like to make? We are obviously have to move the time up. No?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, so we just need to add another executive session on the end of the meeting due to some things that happened this morning that were unanticipated. If no one has an objection to that. And otherwise, we can continue on with the meeting. Is there any public comment?
No.
Okay. And the minutes. So the minutes are on the next page. And I did send these all to you guys, but I know it was late. I thought I had sent them to you earlier and I came back several hours later and they were in my draft folder. so I apologize. So these are the minutes from the June 1st meeting. And if anyone has any questions or changes they would like to make. And if not, if someone would make a motion.
I'll move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody else? Dan, Ron?
I
Yes?
said aye.
You did,
Aye.
okay, okay. I didn't see it. All right.
Okay.
And so the next, there is no, I've gotten no correspondence. Well. Did I get correspondence? I did get correspondence, but I didn't have it in time. I sent it to you separately. Because I didn't realize that I had correspondence until this afternoon. And that was a letter from the Bradford Motel appealing the decision that the Planning Commission had made on the denial of the 3 prefab buildings. And it was appealed to the environmental court. It was regular mail. And I sent that along to the select board because they need to be aware or something like that. And I would ask, we could talk about it more in the executive session if you choose. I would want to hopefully have the select board talk with me about it in an executive session on Thursday as to what to do or what they want to do. There was no detail, it just said that they were appealing. And that's the only correspondence that the Planning Commission has received. As far as the item number 5, the Housing Advisory Subcommittee, we discussed that 2 meetings ago, and then bylaws were drafted and reviewed. And I went through and hopefully made all the recommended changes. Some of them were clerical. The material changes were to remove the requirement for a second. I think that was the big change. And that was pretty much it. And it was, it mirrored to some extent the Bradford Resilience Rules of Procedure, as I mentioned last time. And so I don't know if you all had a chance to review it. The plan is, and we could ask for a motion to present that to the select board. We've already done a motion to form an advisory committee for housing. And that all that has to be presented to the select board for their review and decision on whether or not they want that to go ahead. The exact same procedure was done for the next item, the Economic Development Advisory Subcommittee. And again, the same changes were made in it.
Yeah, just put in there a bit. So as far as the probing the issue of housing. I mean, obviously we need housing. I mean, everywhere in Vermont needs housing right now. How much money is the town putting forward to explore housing? It's simple. It's a simple answer. You need affordable housing, you need not so affordable housing. Are we spending a bunch of money to tell us what we already know?
Neither of these committees involve any financial allocation to them. They're advisory, and the idea behind them is to bring in people that are not all on the Planning Commission, that are from the outside, that are hopefully a cross-section of people who can help inform us on how to make our zoning and subdivision bylaws more compatible, and to help inform us as we're updating our town plan, which will start in September. And also do the reverse communication out to the community by explaining some of the things that have been done with the zoning already, and the benefit of having zoning and subdivision for, in particular, for economic development to, and it may be, I don't know how it'll go, but it seems like these are two areas that are increasingly important in our town. And the planning commission doesn't have enough resources in our meetings to fully look into these subjects. And so this helps us to better understand, and the town doesn't have an economic development officer. They don't have affordable housing staff person. So so these two advisory groups would help to inform the planning commission. And then maybe they'll come up with, well, there really needs to be X, Y, and Z that's not really under the planning commission. And there's nothing to say that that's not something that would be suggested to the select board. Both of these groups are under the planning commission, so they don't look for grants. They're not trying to get any money for anything. They're just trying to help expand our ability to understand what the needs are and try to find a way to improve our zoning without, while still remaining in sync with what the town wants to do.
Well, for whatever it's worth, as I've said from the beginning, as far as zoning is concerned, you create your zoning so that you make it more palatable for someone to build something so they can make a profit and turn over a product that somebody can afford to buy. It all starts with the cost of the land, and which costs with density and all that. I personally, in my opinion, I don't need somebody coming from out of town to tell me what I already know. But if it's not going to cost us anything extra, and it's not going to somehow put our hands behind our backs like Two Rivers did with the original Bradford Square, then fine, I'm all for it. But I just don't want to get our hands tied behind our backs when the formula to me is very simple. You create situations where the only way you bring the cost of housing down is you do like spot zoning with density. Is this area we can do smaller lots, more how, that kind of thing.
Well, that might be an idea that comes out of this group. The other side of it is that we've been working on the accessory dwelling zoning bylaw to make it more flexible and available to a wider population. And there are probably other ways we can do that will still be consistent with zoning. Zoning is not designed to enable you to make the most money, Ron. That's not what zoning does.
That's an unfair statement.
There's a way to
single me out. You're discriminating against me.
No, you're talking about developers.
Whether it's me or the farmer trying to sell off their land, if you want to sit there and try to, discriminate against that person to minimize what they can do with their property, that is wrong, regardless if it's the developer or the land.
So that's all fine, but the idea is that
well, then
we would like to set up advisory committees to help inform us.
That is very irritating for you to make a statement like that. Sure.
What is?
Just to sit there and say, Ron, so you can make more money.
Well, no,
that's irritating.
Okay.
You're
I apologize for saying your name. I'm just saying that the zoning is not focused on making things the easiest for developers, such as yourself, and even I could be called a developer on a much smaller level. it's,
much
it's a
well
much
better.
broader subject, and the problem, these committees will help the planning commission to be more responsive to the needs of the community, as well as helping, I'm hopeful it'll help to inform the community as to what
Hmm,
is
agreed.
available in our zoning. So that's the
I agree.
idea behind both of these, is to give some
I agree.
energy
The
to
long
these
range
subjects.
goal is to do what's best for the town and housing. That's the goal. And if I happen to benefit from it, well, then you can't penalize me because it happens to be the line of work I am in, no
No,
more than anybody else. That's just wrong. However, whether or not wouldn't be the only person who benefited from it. It'd be also other builders and or the consumer who was able to buy affordable house. They also benefit.
exactly.
That's all
So
I'm
that's
getting
the
at.
idea behind having a housing advisory committee that can focus on that and help to inform the planning commission about how to improve their zoning, the zoning and the town plan. That's the be all and end all of the idea behind it, because I've found that there's a lot, the workload for the planning commission has been pretty heavy over the last year. And I think that this will be, my hope is that this will be really helpful, and it will help to engage more people in the whole process. That's the idea. So we
Okay.
have
That
to, we
sounds
have to do it within
goal.
the municipal framework and the state statutes of how we can't just, we did this in the past actually, but we're not supposed to do this. We can't just like decide to do something. We have to follow different steps along the way. And that's the idea behind this. And so maybe you'll want to be on the housing committee, Ron.
Sounds interesting. Very well, maybe. Yeah, you're right.
So if anyone, if what I would like to do is move forward with these procedures, I'm not sure we really need a motion because a motion was made to make the corrections, but I just wanted to throw it out there one more time before it goes to the select board.
I do have a couple of
No
issues.
way.
Yeah, sorry. I mean,
That's okay. That's
I
why
originally
appreciate it.
put my hand up because I was trying to point out that we're talking about sending this document to the select board, and instead we started going down the rabbit hole of
Yes.
actually starting to debate the issues that this subcommittee is supposed to work on.
Sorry.
No, I
However,
know.
at the top of the document, I believe it says rules of procedure. But then if you read through it, it looks more like it's the bylaws of the subcommittee. So it seems to, I mean, and the
Is there a
bylaws can
difference?
include the rules of procedure, but things like what its mission is, what its role is, what it hopes to accomplish, that's all part of its bylaws, not its rules of procedure. So I'm thinking that I like everything in the document, but I'm thinking we might want to change the title.
Okay. Okay, no, I think that makes total sense.
Yeah, I agree.
What about you, Dan?
Yes, I agree as well.
Okay, you have your video off, so I bet you're eating dinner.
No, I'm not. I'm actually on my damn phone instead of my iPad because I can't get it to connect.
Oh, okay.
So I don't even.
Okay, well, we can't tell because we're on Zoom, right? Okay, so I'll change that to bylaws of these two advisory committees.
Yeah.
And then moving on to, and I did check because I'm sure that there'll be at least one person on the select board who will say, well, you have a typo or something, but try to do as good a job as we can. Okay, so let's see what the next. And like I said, they're identical. I went through and made the identical changes, and I took out the redundancy of Bradford in the names. And so the next thing is, again, we've already approved this, but I just like to run it by everybody. And oops, I think I might have missed it. Well, maybe I missed it on the, I'm sorry. I did too many files. So I meant to include the updated accessory dwelling, but the only change in that was the doubling the setback. And as was pointed out last meeting, it's not the only addendum that we would like to, it's probably not the only addendum we want to do to the bylaw. So it's just put aside until we're finished. But it's now in its final draft.
Marcy, I'm sorry, I've got one other thing that I somehow missed when I first
Sure.
read through it. The page you've got on the screen right now, last sentence in number 6, I totally agree with the sentiment there, that members of the body, fine. How do we prohibit members of the public from making inappropriate remarks, and what do we do about it?
Well, on Zoom, it's easy. You just kick them out or mute them.
Okay, all right.
In person, I think we do what that memorable meeting with Justin Clarich was. We say stop it or the meeting's over.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Right. I mean, I've only experienced that twice in the planning commission meetings. And that one of them was the Justin Clarich meeting. And the other one, the person who was doing that walked out. So it solved itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's my real estate training of when I had a customer yelling at me on the phone. I said, unless you stop doing this, I'm hanging up. So.
Just for the record, Marcy, I never have ever had anybody yell at me at the phone. What'd you do wrong?
Oh, in the voicemail messages. Yeah. All right. So I somehow didn't scan or got mixed in other pages, the ADU addendum part. So that moving on to the next section, which is planning commission members and alternates. I discovered inadvertently when I was looking for something else about the fact that if you had an energy coordinator, which we don't, we have an energy committee, you could have ex officio, that person be an ex officio member. And so it's occurred to me that it would be really beneficial to the planning commission to be informed on energy committee issues that they're doing, rather than finding out like basically inadvertently. And so I suggested to Nancy Jones to see if the energy committee, if they were interested in having a liaison to the planning commission. And they came up with 2 members. And I don't know Stu Ross, but he is on the energy commission and he did get approved by the select board. So you guys, I don't remember him, so you guys might. And I do know who Suzanne Lewis is. And I think it's particularly important because we're coming up to doing a minor revision of the town plan. And so in the past, we have reached out to Nancy Jones and she's gone over the energy plan with her commission and then presented back. But this way, I think there would be more dialogue between the 2 groups. And in particular, similar to housing and economic development, energy is a very important topic, and the town can play a potentially very big role in encouraging energy conservation. And I think this would be helpful, and they may be able, and I'm hoping they can inform us on some things that where we can encourage energy conservation and support what they're learning in their committee. So that's the idea behind this. And I was glad to hear that they found a couple of people that were interested in doing that. So that's my spiel on what that's all about and looking for any feedback, if you think it's a good idea, not so good.
It's a good idea.
Sounds like one. Yeah.
Okay, so if you're interested, you could make a motion, I could propose it to the select board to see if they're up for that.
Sure.
Want to
I'll make a motion. We propose that to the select board.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
So everyone's in favor. Dan, are you in favor? You have to yell if you're not.
He's muted. You can,
Yes, I am.
Okay. All
I'm still
right.
trying to figure out my phone here, but I can hear you.
Okay. And so then the next phase of this is about a recommendation I'm making to change the form of the planning commission itself. And what I learned and didn't know before probably a week ago is that select board members can be ex officio members of the planning commission. And that means that they're non-voting members and provide input and feedback on things that the planning commission is thinking of that directly impact the day-to-day management of the town. And so I checked, as I believe you did, Ted, about whether or not a select person can be on the planning commission or the zoning board of adjustment. And they sent back a several page treatise that they had on file about the limitations that it presents, because there are several, well, quite a few instances where there's a need to recuse. So I also, and my experience with the select board in both directions at select board meetings and in our meeting is that anytime something like that comes up where it's a conflict, there has been a recusal. But my concern has been that there are currently 5 members on the planning commission and there are 5 members on the select board. And so when the bylaws are hashed out and this planning commission goes along, comes to an agreement on them and they're presented to the select board, then 2 members have to back out. And that requires, in order for a measure to pass, all 3 of the select board to vote in favor. And I've been in that situation in the planning commission where we only have 3 people at a meeting, at a hearing. And I voted in a way that I would rather not have, because 2 people voted in favor, and I could have squashed the whole thing by saying no, but I felt that wasn't right. So I went along with the majority. But it feels to me like it takes away a lot of important duties that the select board have to look at documents like these from a select board standpoint and not in the role of a planning commission person. And they're very different. And so, and the other side of it is that while I don't think that it's appreciated, I very clearly understand that the select board is the executive branch of the town and that they decide how the money's spent, they decide who's hired, they decide who's fired. They make the day-to-day decisions that run the town, and the planning commission members like me were appointed at the pleasure of the select board, and we go to them to ask for any changes, like adding energy coordinator. And so I think it would be, for many reasons, I think it would be better for the select board and the planning commission to have more separation. And that's, and I did an analysis because I'm analytical and that's how I think about things. That's I gave you my opinion. So what does everybody else think is the way where I go. So I looked at every single town in Two Rivers, the 30 towns, to see how they structured their planning commission and their select board. And there were only 3 towns that had a select board member also on the planning commission. Bethel, which doesn't have zoning and doesn't appear to have a zoning administrator. And 2 other towns who I couldn't even tell you where they are, Granville and Hancock, who don't have any, have 300 or 400 people and don't have a zoning administrator or zoning or subdivision. I think they do a plan, but it was hard to see. Everyone else, there's no overlap. In one town, at least in Hartford, the select board member is ex officio. So
I guess the question is, that's all this time, why is this suddenly an issue for you?
well, it became an issue because I'll tell you why. Because after a meeting, when a motion was passed to place an ad for a zoning administrator, I did that. And I let Dan Perry know in an email that I was doing that because he wasn't able to attend the meeting. And I received a very stern email from Ted, fully supported by Dan, that I had done something egregious and didn't follow protocol. And so I felt from a analytical standpoint that both of them were primarily select board members in this instance. And in fact, I had made them well aware, in my opinion, in fact, in writing in one case, of what I was doing. And there was no malice intended on my part. It would be stupid in my opinion. I mean, it would just be, it would be so out of character for me to do something that's, I can't even imagine why I would do that. So it made it very clear that there, you know, I think of Ted and Dan, I think of you two as select board members. When I get an email from a select board member, it's not like getting an email from a community member. I'm getting an email from a select board member. It, for me, it carries more weight. It just does. And I don't know, I'm not sure that the select board members realize that, but that's the reality. You do carry more weight here. It's like, I look at it as the president, and the select board is the president, and we're Congress and the Supreme Court. And the president is the boss. It's even
Well,
more like a dictatorship. It's you're the boss. It's clear. I understand that. And it's hard to be both. And it
It doesn't, right? I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Marcy, but in general, I think basically, just to cut to the chase, you're basically calling Dan and or Ted's integrity into question here. I mean, I've fought with Dan, I mean, not Dan, Ted, I fought with you on some issues, but I've never really questioned your integrity on where you stood. I felt, well, they just did what they thought was fair. We disagreed, and that was that. Whatever, it's democracy. It's the way it works.
But we're,
I mean,
we're
question,
equal,
let
Ron.
me
But
question.
I just want to say we're
No, you're not
equal.
saying we're equal. You're saying they're select board members, so they carry more weight.
Yes.
You did say,
Yep.
and I think you're right. In the context of what you're talking, we carry a bit more weight because we have decision-making powers. You're right. But it's kind of like the dual agency in real estate. I've worked in dual agency before they outlawed it in Vermont, but for years I'm working on multi-million-dollar deals in Vegas with dual agency, where if I say the wrong thing, my ass is in the cling, but you just have to separate that and you can just do it. I mean, there's plenty of decisions that I've voted for with as a planning commission member. I'm like, well, that doesn't help my concern out, but I'm not there to help my concern out there. I'm here to help what I think is best for the town. And hopefully what is best for the town also eventually would help me as well. Hopefully. Doesn't always happen, but it is what it is. You just got to try to separate yourself and do the right thing. I understand your concern, but I have not seen anything at this juncture where I would call somebody out and say, look, what you just did was, in fact, the closest I've been to that is dealing with you on the whole thing with the Lund and the historic district thing. I basically suggested to you, you recuse yourself because I didn't think you could be objective. And you went through that screaming match with me on the phone. I was like, okay, but think it worked its way out in the end. So
I just,
I guess what I'm saying is for you to sit there and what I'm hearing, maybe I'm wrong, completely open to have my mind changed. What I'm hearing is that you're nervous
I'm
thinking
not
that
nervous.
Dan and or Ted's position sitting on both boards, their integrity could be called into question here in a situation where it becomes unfair for the town people. I
I'm
guess
not
that's
questioning their integrity. What I experienced was one role took precedence over another. And I understand that because their primary role, in my opinion, is as select board members, in particular because they're elected by the community. It carries more weight. We're just appointed. We weren't elected by anybody.
Mhm.
And I think one of the arguments behind having select board members on the planning commission is mirrored in the two of the towns that have an overlap. And that is that we couldn't find people to come on board. And I worked by reaching out to Monique, who knows a gazillion people, to find two really talented people who were interested in being on the planning commission. And they're new, they're not in other roles in the town. And so it's
Ted,
not
what
saying,
background? I
I'm
mean,
not
they're-
saying that, as I
He
reach
can't-
out to the energy committee,
hell good.
I'm reaching out to, I would hope that,
So you're trying to stack
Ted-
planning?
I would hope that Ted and Dan continue to attend and give their advice, but the planning commission is very different in state statute, as is zoning. There is clearly demarked separation, and then the reason is because oftentimes you can end up in a situation that conflicts. And one side should be able to think independently of politics. For instance, the planning commission we weren't elected. We're not affected by whether or not people like us or not. We have a term and we execute our business during our term.
Marcy, Bob has had his hand up for quite some time.
I know.
Okay.
I'm
just-
looking to hear from the planning commission and I will reach him later. Anything else, Ron?
I guess I don't know if you heard me ask the question or not when you were saying about Monique. She's got two very qualified people. I'm like, well, qualified people in what way? What are they qualified? What are their backgrounds? What is their,
They're in
I'm saying-
the, they're in the packet. One of them
stack
is
the
an-
planning
One
with
of
certain
them,
types of people?
one of them was involved in planning in Hartford and has architectural degree. And the other woman ran for select board and is interested in volunteering for the town.
Well, I don't
And
care about that. I don't know.
I am in favor of broadening the involvement in the town. So if there isn't an interest in having the select board be ex officios, then I would ask that they expand the membership to 7.
What do you think's been the problem so far? Where with the planning commission has been thus far? Where are we coming up short? In what area?
In some of the quasi judicial hearings, to be frank, but we can't discuss them. And I also, and I feel that it's important to keep a separation between the executive function and the planning commission side. And I don't see, I think that way both Ted and Ron and Ted and Dan can express their opinions about the bylaws documentation. I'm not sure that they both support the documentation 100%. But I think it would be uncomfortable for them to say something in select board because they're on the planning commission, and I think they should be given full voice.
Can I add
Okay.
something, Marcy?
Yes,
Here, you know, you guys can hear me as well.
yes,
we can hear you.
Monique wanted to.
Okay.
You want to say something, Monique?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I would just I don't have a complete thought formed here, sorry. But I was thinking so I also just have been like, I also echo Marcy saying about this, almost a feeling of, well, I think a clear feeling of conflict of interest in some ways, and in no way is Ted and Dan's integrity at all. It's got nothing to do with it. And I think Dan and Ted are super valuable members of the planning commission. And I think that if they were ex officio, I actually think it would be better in a lot of ways, in that they could actually act as select board. So something that happened with like Ted making the motion for the ad, and like, I'm not going to question that kind of stuff. And then Ted as a select board member, sorry, Ted, but Ted as a select board member, calling out Marcy and I for taking out the ad, is then doing the select board role, but he just made the motion as a planning commission member. And so that is like a clear, that's just, it feels like a conflict of interest. Whereas if Ted and Dan were ex officio, they could act as a select board member, so that if a planning commission member did something that was out of line, then as select board members, they could mention it and they'd be in like complete, just that distinction I think is important, that there isn't a like a blending of roles and then difference of powers and wearing different hats at different times whenever it kind of, whatever, it just feels like it's changing all the time depending on the situations. And if it was separate, then there could be a clear, you always wear your select board hat and call the planning commission out on what it's doing, versus some planning commission members calling out other planning commission members because what was done in the group that people didn't end up thinking, that the intention was not there, but everybody couldn't figure out that because it wasn't stated. So that that just got really messy. And I feel like the ex officio piece still would allow for Ted and Dan for absolutely to have input, to be involved in the planning process. But when it came to votes, if there was an issue that came up, then there would be a clear distinction in order to settle moving forward and who has what roles. And I don't know what else to say about it, but I don't want to repeat myself again, but yeah.
I'll just say there have been times when, well, let me back up. I still, and this is my problem, not yours, but I still do not remember making that motion. I don't doubt that I did it. I'm not questioning that, but I honestly, I mean, I've spent a lot of time thinking about it and I don't remember. So maybe I've got premature early onset dementia, who knows? But what I was going to say is that there have been times when it's sort of delicate and I've had to walk a fine line when we send something up to the select board, if it's something that I've actively participated in drafting and voted on the motion to forward it to the select board, then I recuse myself when the select board votes on it. And it is, it's a good point that with two of us now, that means that the remaining three members who don't have a potential conflict, they have to all be unanimous or nothing happens. So, I think there certainly are advantages and disadvantages. I personally, and I'm speaking only for myself here, I'm not speaking for Dan or anybody else, I would have no problem being ex officio, non-voting, but I can go either way. I don't feel strongly about it one way or another. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, which wasn't even worth 2 cents.
Just want to, and no offense, Ted, I just want to call something out that, I don't know if you've watched the recording, but when you make a statement like you don't feel like you made a motion, but we're saying that has happened, it's gaslighting, and it just feels like.
No, I'm not saying,
I'm just saying it is. Okay.
Okay,
So
I'm not gaslighting. I'm saying I do not remember it. And I think I said very clearly, I don't doubt that I did, but I simply don't remember. So I'm putting that on me. That's my memory at fault. I'm not suggesting, but I'm just saying
in
I
your
don't
power
remember.
role this is like an example of like, as your power role as a select board, that carries a lot of weight to say that you don't think like that you don't remember it happening. Basically, like that is a structure there that is something that's an issue in this setting.
Well,
so
yeah, I don't like being accused of gaslighting because,
well,
I was just trying to explain.
It is a form of,
okay, it's not. Gaslighting is
Okay.
an intent to deceive. I'm not trying to deceive anybody. I'm saying
okay.
I don't
It is
remember.
also saying that things didn't happen when they did happen.
I'm not saying that, Monique.
Okay.
I'm saying I don't remember it. There's a huge difference between
Well,
I don't
okay.
remember and it didn't happen. There's a huge difference.
I can tell you how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
Makes me feel like you don't believe me, no
Yeah.
matter what you say, because you keep on saying that. And people only hear the part that you don't remember saying that, as if I put down something false in the minutes and I'm lying to you. Why?
Yeah, it
And
carries
so
a lot
the
of
fact
weight.
that you don't remember it, I had to go back and listen to the recording to make sure I remembered it correctly. And if it had been different, I hope I would have said something. But that's how it makes me feel, period. And I hope you don't say it again, because I get.
Trust me, I'm not saying anything anymore. This is it.
Thank you. So I don't know, I haven't heard from Dan. And I would like to hear your thoughts on that, if you feel comfortable doing so.
Well, I'm not going to say a whole lot about it, but we beat that thing to death last meeting. I still love the both of you, including Ted. And it didn't all come out right. We all agreed it didn't come out right. So please let it go. I understand where you're coming from, and that's fine. As far as ex officio, as far as state statute, according to the leagues of cities and towns, the select board member can sit on both boards, and there is no conflict as far as they are concerned. And that's why you have some on the list that do that. So at the moment, I don't plan on going ex officio unless the state or somebody decides to tell us that. I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything, but yes, Ron, it is really funny that it happened right after the article in the paper, the ad placement, which was pure mistake, probably on all sides. But again, we finished that. I hope that everybody's grown up enough to let it go. It's just like the old saying, you learn to disagree, agree to disagree. So we got more important things to do. We should move on and do this good job for the community like we plan on doing and always have done. And for the ones that weren't here last meeting, when I jumped in at the end, basically, I said that when I was sitting on, no matter what board I'm sitting on, whether it's water department, sewer, or even fire advisory or whatever, I keep a clear head on those, and I do not use the power of the select board thing to overpower or overweigh any decisions on the other committees. I can do that. I always have done that. And yes, it does make it hard to sit on both. And yes, you do need an unanimous number when you come to the select board meeting. But if you remember anything we've ever done, which hasn't been a whole lot, this cat's recused himself just like Ted does. And if the other three members don't all agree, well, maybe they weren't supposed to all agree. That's what you call government and democracy. So I'm all done talking about it, and that's about it. Like I said, I love you all. We still have a lot of fun. We still can do good work for the community. Let's concentrate on that.
And given the response from Dan Perry, I would like to make a motion to increase the number of members to 7 and to add 2 alternates.
It's like
I'll
so you're
second
trying
that.
to back the Supreme Court. But whatever. How many we got right now? What's the members we got right now? How many?
5.
Where's it stand? The 5.
5.
That's what we got. But how many are we supposed to have? 5 or
5. We changed it
okay?
because we couldn't find members. So 5. The alternates can only hear quasi judicial hearings, period.
So, but in general, is the rule is 7 in general?
No, it's 3 to 9. And we have 2 really good candidates. And I would like to increase the number.
Candidates come from? When you say you got 2 really good candidates, these guys like candidates who like you picked and chosen, they're handpicked. Are you trying to stack?
We reached out to dozens of people, Ron, and applications were submitted by 2 people. One person, Anna Davidson, ran for select board, and she's interested in contributing to the community. She works in the post office. She's the manager, and she knows just about everybody.
Yeah, let me, so as far as
background.
finding people, Ron, it's not a matter of stacking. There's been a number of people in the past who have said that they want to be involved in town government, and there hasn't been a spot. So I just reached out to at least 25 people that have been, they said they want to get involved in commissions, and there haven't been spots. I think in general, Ted asked during the last meeting why we don't have like a culture like Conservation Commission or Parks and Rec where it's like easy to get people. And I think in a lot of ways we don't have a kind of a culture of this commission that anybody should like. In Conservation's Commission, like not everybody is a member that goes to those meetings. So there's a expectation that if you're interested in Conservation Commission, you go and you interact as if you're a member of the commission. You don't get to vote if you're not a member. But in general, it's an inviting atmosphere. No offense, Marcy, it's not about like the chairs.
It's different. It's different,
but
different too, because they have a lot of volunteer activities.
Totally. But in general, I think that if we could include more people who have never been involved in town government before and just made it more open that there's always a spot for people, not necessarily a voting spot for people. And I think we're doing that with the housing and economic, Ron, just stop. Housing and economic development committees.
Ron,
We can't hear you or during Zoom.
Ron, I'm gonna mute you unless you let her finish.
Sit here and listen to Monique try to sit there.
So if you would continue, Monique, we're not gonna have rude behavior.
Yeah, I just think in general, if we could open it up to have anybody. So if Ron has ideas of people who want to join, and Ted and Danielle and Dan and everybody, I think in general, we could do a lot to just encourage people to be more involved in town government. We could start with the planning commission. That's all.
And there are, and you can unmute now, Ron, as long as you're not gonna.
Try to unmute. I don't know what happened.
I muted you because you were rude.
Oh, I'm rude. Monique wasn't rude, telling me to stop.
Please.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I see. Go ahead, play the discriminatory card. You go right ahead. We'll just stack you up there with Shirley Beresford. Anybody else
I
can
am
say what they
going
want.
to
but Ron
mute
Andy-
you until you stop.
Marcy, could I say something?
Just a minute. I'm gonna let the planning commission talk and then I'll seek public comment. So I know that in the past, we've had a trouble getting people on the planning commission, and it's a very dry committee. It's looking at bylaws, and not many people enjoy that. It's a lot more fun to be talking about parks and rec or conserving forests or working on trails. I see that. I like doing this, so I chose to do this, but I understand why it's more appealing to do those other more community oriented items. And so I think it's really fortunate that we found two people that were willing to put in an application. And I would not want to discourage that. If we expanded to 7 and add 2 alternates, we have 2 more spots. And we also are hopefully going to be able to have 2 subcommittees where we can have more people. And I see, I mean, I'm amazed that there are people that are interested in participating, and I think it's wonderful. And I think a lot of new people are moving into town, and that may be part of it. I don't know what the reason is, but I think it should be encouraged and supported. And that's my spiel. And I think, I don't know.
I don't necessarily disagree with you. Am I unmuted still?
No,
Okay, good. Nice. I don't disagree with what you just said at all, just for the record. But I don't think we should be actually probably even having any more planning commission Zoom meetings so that we can't be run by a dictatorship where you decide when somebody can talk and when they can't, because you just feel like, well, you're being rude. That's horse shit. So I make a motion, we don't have any more planning commission meetings until we do it in person. We make decisions that way.
We
Can I
still
get a
have an
second?
open motion on the floor from earlier that we
Yeah,
need
no
to
one's voted
resolve.
on it. I got no problem. Fine, I'll second that motion. Let's go ahead. We want 2 more people. Fine, I'm
know,
okay with that. But not with you running as a dictatorship. No, I'm not okay with that.
Ron, we don't have conversations like that in a meeting in
Oh, we
person or
just do.
on Zoom.
Right. Oh, according to Marcy, we don't have it. Monique can tell me to be quiet, but I can't tell her to be quiet. Suddenly I'm being rude. Whatever.
Ron, I was
Marcy.
asking you
Stop
not
being a
to interrupt
dictator.
me.
Stop being a dictator.
Enough, Ron, really. It's not
Anybody
the way
wanna
to
step
carry
up?
on. It's
No
not
more
the way to
planning
carry on a
commission.
meeting, and you really need to lower the words, please.
What the words? You mean the tone? I think is what you're going for. Maybe the attitude. Is that the word you're looking for? Don't sit there and act like a dictator.
Okay. I'm gonna recognize Bob. Did you want to say something?
Yeah. As you condemn Ted and Danny for being both on the select board and the planning commission, how does the zoning administrator get to sit as the prosecutor and the judge and the jury? I think that before you get on to them too heavy, maybe you ought to look at yourself. That if you read, I don't know if you have read it, but maybe if you haven't, try reading the zoning administrator's handbook. It strongly recommends that the same person, that the zoning administrator not sit with the planning commission, not write the decisions, that those become real conflicts. And I think in the last year, we've really affected a lot of people by doing that. And we may want to look inward before we start condemning others. That's my speech. I'm done.
Thank you. So do you want to call the motion, Monique, and then we can ask for a vote?
Marcy, could I say something first?
Yes, Carol.
I do know that there are other people that are interested in being on the planning commission that have sent their application into the town office. I don't know if you've seen those or not, but I just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
I have not seen any applications for the planning commission. ever. Until this time.
No, I think they just came in within the last day or two, but I believe there are some at the office.
Okay, well, they should forward them on. I would appreciate it. All right, so there's a motion to expand the number of members from 5 to 7 on the planning commission and add 2 alternates.
Could I make one point? I said I was finished talking, but I need to make one point.
Okay,
This, and again, forgive me, I'm a member of the select board, so I know this is sensitive, but the select board is the one who determines the size of the commission. So I would suggest that you amend the motion to a recommendation to the select board to expand the size.
yeah, I believe we totally understand that.
Right, but the motion was to expand the size, and we all know words matter.
Okay, so we're recommending to expand the size of the planning commission to 7 members plus 2 alternates.
Any idea what the average number of select boards are around the state? I mean, planning commission members are around the state? Is it 7, 9, 5?
In the tiny towns, they are, I only looked at the 30 towns in the Two Rivers district. In the tiny towns, they tend to be small. They tend to be around 3. And that's an example of, and Newbury, in fact, only has 3. And in other towns, they can have 7 or 9 members, quite large. So it's,
And as
And
far as
and
these,
that-
where do we fit in?
we're on the small side.
So we're risking bogging ourselves down in more bureaucracy.
No, I think we're looking at expanding the dialogue.
I think they call it bureaucracy. But yeah. God knows.
So I'll call the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Do I need a roll call? So
I honestly don't, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm really on the fence, to be perfectly honest with you. Part of me wants to say yes, part of me wants to say no. I don't know. I guess, and I'll be perfectly right up front with you. I'll be right up front with everybody here. Part of my problem is that you've got 2 people sitting in there in your pocket, kind of hand-picked, and you're saying that we want to expand so I can put these 2 people on. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. First, you start out saying, well, I'm calling into question Dan and Teg's positions, their integrity. That's the way I see it. Call it however you want. That's the way I feel that you're calling out their integrity sitting there. And you got these 2 other people handpicked. You want to put them on. That's the optics. Maybe I'm perfectly wrong, but that's just kind of the way my gut feels. And I've just got me wound up. I'm sorry. I apologize if it offends you. I do, to both you and Monique, but that's the way it feels. It feels like it's being crammed down my throat, and I'm just not comfortable with it.
Ron, you told me this week that you had somebody interested in the position, and I told you to have them send an application.
You did. I
And I
did. I said, hey, somebody just questioned me, asked me if there was any positions open. I said, I'll check with Marcy and tell them what the procedure was. I think you have to fill out an application. I emailed you, and in fact, I have not told them, like, look, yeah, sure, send it in. I did. I said, you're right. You're absolutely right. But then all of a sudden, then you're telling me I got 2 people sitting there. I'm like, shit, I don't know who these
I
people
don't
are.
have 2 people.
weird.
I've never met one of them, and the other one I met at the post office. Okay. I
just
felt, and I'm going to
being
say this only one more time, and then we're closing discussion.
I'm being blunt.
Monique has a question. I understood that the issue was we couldn't find people, and that Ted said it was wonderful how Nancy Jones found all these people for the Energy Commission. So foolish me, I thought, well, we won't have a vacancy. It's hard to operate with 3, but it's fine. I think we should, if there's more people, if there's applications in the town office, send them over, and that will be wonderful. There's not just planning commission that would have openings. There are lots of other positions in the town that haven't been filled for a long time. And perhaps they would be willing to do that, or there are these advisory committees. There are lots of things that can be done. And in most cases, no one wants to be on the planning commission, so.
I can't imagine why.
Wonderful, people want to be on it. I'm happy. Monique,
Yeah, just, I mean, so we're not appointing people, Ron, so the select board makes a choice. So if the select board gets 6 applicants or something, or these 2, they can choose to decline them. They don't have to accept them. So it's not us, we're just saying, make a spot for people, and then they make the choice, not us.
I understand that, Monique. I do.
okay,
In general, I think the proposition is a good idea. Frankly, I think it's a good idea as long as it's coming from a good, genuine motives. I do. I think it's a good idea. So with that said, I would second the motion.
so again, all those in favor of the motion, and I can't see some people, so I'm gonna have to do a roll call, because I can see Ted, and now I see Dan, you got on your iPad, but I can't see Ted, so I can't tell if you're talking. So all those in favor?
Say aye.
Standing, okay, so Ron,
Aye.
Monique, I'm in favor. Ted, are you in favor of expanding the, recommending to the
I'm
select board
recused.
to expand the planning commission?
I'm recusing myself. Every time I open my mouth, I get in trouble. I'm recusing myself.
And
Come
Dan,
I will do the same.
recuse?
Correct.
Okay, then the motion carries because it's 3. It's a majority of the board.
Hope I don't regret it.
You might. Okay, so these are the applicants. My feeling based on the discussion is that we should table the applicants because apparently there are more applicants. And it's not clear that the select board will agree to expand the planning commission. Does anyone else have any comments?
No, I think tabling's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good idea.
Okay, here's the accessory dwelling. Okay, so my scanner got mixed up. So that's it for the planning commission members and alternates section of the agenda. And I had missed the this ADU, it got stuck in the back. So it shows, because I did track changes, what I changed, which was in a suggestion from Bob Wing that we should be doing minimum of twice the zone setback requirement rather than saying 20 feet. And we had agreed to that, but I'm just confirming that I did that. And the next item on the agenda is future meetings. And I don't know if I can, okay. And so the next meeting, June 15th, is canceled because we met tonight, and we're canceling the July 6th meeting. Our next meeting in July, the one and only, is July 20th. And there are 2 meetings in August, and would like to go down to 1 meeting, but would like to have everyone be able to attend. So if you could get back to me offline, outside of the meeting, on the Tuesdays when you're available, that would be great. Does anyone else have any comments before we go on executive committee? Or whatever, executive session?
Marcy,
Yes, Bob.
as a member of the public, I would like to bring to your attention that I've spoken with the Secretary of State's office, and there's very limited reasons that a board can go into executive session. Seeing as how the Planning Commission has no employees, cannot hire employees, cannot fire employees. It seems a little odd that you go into executive session for a personnel matter. That's my comment. I brought it to your attention. I'm done.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to go into executive committee for a personnel matter. And I don't know the spiel that's normally done in the executive, going into executive session. There's two motions.
Well, before we go into that, whether it's appropriate now and then, I mean, I did say earlier, I want to make a motion that we don't have any more planning commissions till we start doing it in private, because the ability for you to just mute somebody because you want to act like a dictator, no longer let them talk, I think that's unfair. Don't know if how the other guys and or people, Monique, feel about that, but that was very offensive, period, just because you didn't like what I had to say. So I'm making a motion that we have no more meetings until we do it in person. If nobody wants to agree with that, fine, but if it's out there. We can all disagree if you want.
I plan to hold meetings in Zoom. Even when we can go back in person, I plan to do hybrid to enable anyone who wants to access the meetings, the ability to do so.
And why is that?
Because Zoom gives people that, for instance, if you were traveling.
Well, the reason we all can't be meeting, but you still have a Zoom thing set up for the public if you wanted to.
We can do Zoom, we can do a hybrid meeting, but we need, my position is that to continue to do Zoom. Some sort of Zoom access. And at this point, there's the remote meetings are still under enabled by that executive action.
Enable, but is it not our choice yet whether we want to do it? I mean,
I
know
don't
what-
choose to
I'm
do meetings in
vaccinated.
person, and unless I'm ordered to by the governor, I'm not, or someone else. I'm very uncomfortable with doing that. Ted,
Well, Anybody else have anything about that? Is it just me?
Ted has his hand raised.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the select board is going to be meeting at the BA building this week, and we are going to stream it over Zoom, so it is going to be a hybrid meeting. I am told that the Water and Sewer Commission has been doing this for quite a while, so we apparently do have the necessary equipment to do that. It can be done. How successful it will be, I guess we'll find out Thursday night. But apparently the Water and Sewer Commission has been doing it successfully for some time now.
Okay, well, there's that. I mean, I'll be the Zoom thing. I've been liking. It's been very convenient for me. But then all of a sudden, I got Marcy acting like a dictator and telling me I can't speak anymore. I'm like, wait a minute. Now let's change everything.
If you speak to
If you
me the way
agree,
you did earlier in the
did that.
meeting, I will
It's a
ask you to leave.
story.
And if you won't leave, I'll end the meeting. There is no reason for being abusive in a meeting.
Oh,
In
abusive
meeting-
stuff. You know, little whiny little wimp. There's a difference between having an argument and a discussion over abusive just because you don't like what's being said. That's ridiculous. If you can't handle it, resign.
Again, the tone
No,
and the
the
words
tone.
are not acceptable in a meeting, Ron.
Says who? You?
It is my opinion that the
There
tone
we
that
go.
you have
Your
been
opinion.
exhibiting has been rude and offensive to me and others at the meeting, and it's not appropriate. It
You and
doesn't
Marcy,
belong in a meeting.
You and Ted, have you been offended? I mean, I'll apologize if everybody's been offended. I'll apologize. Was it just you and Monique have been apologizing because I've disagreed with your opinions? Just where you want to mute me again? It's called democracy, Marcy, not a dictatorship. That's what I'm getting at. For you to decide when and wherever when somebody can talk, that is not appropriate, in my opinion. Somebody gets a little excited, well, it happens. It's part of being in the role that you're in. You
As the
take the good,
chair,
the bad.
as the chair of the meeting, I do decide whether or not the public can engage, and I ask the commission for their contributions. It's not appropriate to interrupt people. It's not appropriate to yell at them. It's not appropriate to swear at them.
Did I
All of
yell?
that occurred when you were
During-
talking, and it's occurring right now. And
All
so
right, so when did you want to record? This is all recorded. Play back when I yelled and or swore at somebody. Are you just making
you
up
used the
stories?
word horseshit.
In the context of what I'm swearing at them, that I tell them they were full of horseshit?
I don't, this
Horseshit.
conversation is non-productive and there's
Don't
no,
make up stories. I've been in the courtroom many times doing stuff, and it's like words matter. The way things are said, the way they're presented matter. You've got to present something factually. There's a difference between swearing at somebody and or swearing during a conversation. It's completely different context. Make sure you're careful about how you present your argument. I did not swear at anybody.
Can we move on?
yes.
Well, can we move on? I made a motion, so I guess nobody is interested in that. That's fine. But so we're there. There was a motion on the table, and nobody's interested in just doing in-person meetings. Is that correct? If somebody is, then nobody is. I just put the motion out there a while ago.
What I understand, the one of the few powers that a chair has is when to hold a meeting, and in this particular case, it's my understanding the chair can determine if it's all in Zoom or hybrid. And I am sticking with all in Zoom until there's a court order in place, relaxing that, and there's the ability to actually hold Zoom meetings, hybrid meetings, in a location that I'm allowed to use.
That's the law. That's the law.
Marcy,
Yes,
so as far as Ron's concerned, the motion doesn't really need one anyways, because we're not having a meeting on June 15th. We're not having one on July 6th. So we got plenty of time before the governor lifts or doesn't lift, and then we can decide after that. So I suggest we move on, because earlier I was not eating my dinner, but I really would like to sometime tonight. Thank you.
all right.
Done?
So again, I think we've concluded the meeting, and I would like to move into the executive session, where there's two motions that are needed to be given, but I don't know them by heart. They relate to them causing potential legal difficulty with the town, and therefore need to be in executive session. So I believe I have to do a motion and get a vote. Is that correct? Ted, you do these all the time.
The first motion is a finding that we need to go into executive session to discuss an issue because premature release of the information could be detrimental to both the town and the individuals involved. Then once we vote on that, the finding that we need to go into executive session, there needs to be a second motion to go into executive session as allowed by state statute. Personally, I think it's silly and stupid that the law requires two motions. And usually in the select board, one person makes both motions at once, but technically they need to be two separate motions.
Okay. So can we consider those made?
I'll make that motion.
And
I'll
all
second.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, so it's unanimous to go into executive session. Any decisions that come out of that will be sent to those who attend by email following the meeting. And if there's no motion made at the end of the executive session, I'll let you know that too. So Carol will have to say goodbye.